All right, my name is Warren Roberts, and this is my very first episode of Hillbilly Repairman. This week I'm going to work on my backhoe. We're going to repair some of the seals in the outriggers, and so let's go check it out. Okay, so these are the rods for my backhoe. It's an old 580B. And these are the ones that go for the outriggers. And I took them out. They were leaking really bad, so I took them out. And I have all this damage, if you can see it there. I'm not sure whatever happened. I've only had it a couple weeks, so these things were leaking, and I decided, well, I'll take it apart and try and fix them. So I called up a place to get them replated, and it was like $375 a side. And I don't even think the backhoe is worth doing that to, so I'm gonna try something else. What I did is I kind of wire brushed out all the dirt, and I'm gonna use some MEK on there and clean it out, and then I'm gonna put some JB Weld in there and file it all down. So I'm not sure how it's gonna work. It can't work worse, so let's try it out and see what happens. Alright, I have my JB Weld all mixed up. I cleaned out these scrapes as best I could, and I'm going to put some on now, and hopefully it's going to help out. Okay, as you can see, I've got it all filled in. I tried to get it in each and every little crack as much as I could. So I got to let it dry a couple days. We'll come back and we'll file it off and sand it down and see what it looks like. Okay, so I got all the pieces ready now to put back together, but I just wanted to show you. These are the seals that came out, and you can tell there's nothing left of them, and I'm sure that was like 99% of the problem. But remember, we were looking at these scratches in my cylinder, and what I did, even though they look really bad, they're very smooth now. I filled them with JB Weld, waited there 24 hours, and then very gently I sanded them. Well, I started out with a file, and in retrospect, don't make your JB Weld piles too high. Try to keep it close to the rod, because it takes a while to file them down, and you're going to have a wire brush or a file card there to clean out the file, because it fills up the file pretty quick. But I did that with the file, and then I came back with some 400 sandpaper, and then 600, and then 800. So even though they look horrible, they're pretty smooth, and I think they're going to be just fine. Now, on the gland nuts, it turns out someone has been in here before. These two gland nuts are different, and I'll show you the difference. This one here has a bushing back here, and way down in the front it has the seal. And this one has the seal in the back here and the bushing ahead of it. And this one has the bushing, the plastic bushing that comes in the seal kit. And this one, you can't use that. This one has that brass bushing. So apparently at some time in its life it had some problems. They had to replace either the whole cylinder or the gland nut at least. And you can see there's a difference too in the size of the diameter here and here. So but I don't think it's going to be a big problem. Now, on the seals, this is the seal kit and the piston kit. So these two seals, one of them's round and one of them's flat, and so they go on the gland nut here. and the flat one goes closest to the part where you put the wrench on it, and the O-ring actually goes closest to the threads. Now the seals inside, which I don't have one here. Okay, so the seal inside, you see the lip, you want it facing towards the oil of the cylinder. So I made that mistake, I had to switch it around. And so that's the way it goes. It goes towards the oil, the little lip. Now on the piston, there is nothing on the internet or even in the case book that shows how these go. So this is the way I have it set up. I have the flat. Let's see if I can do this easier. Let me move some of this out of the way. I have the one side as flat. And they're stuck together. And the other side is got the V groove on it. So that's the first one. And then I have another plastic one. And then the rubber seal. And then another plastic seal. And then this piece, which is what they call the bushing, this keeps the rod, the piston, from actually rubbing on the inside of your bore in the cylinder. And then on the other side, it just goes backwards. It has a plastic ring, and then the rubber, and then another plastic ring, and then the flat ring on the end. And those go up against the side of your piston here, the ends of your piston. Let's see, right here and right here. Okay, so there was nothing on the internet that showed that, and I figured I might as well show it because it's really difficult to figure out. I even have the case parts manual, it doesn't show that. This one, you just fold it up a little bit, stuff it down inside the gland nut, and it opens up, and you have your bushing inside, and then you have your, this is called a, it's like a scraper, or it's a seal, but it goes right on the outside of the gland nut here, and that's to take off the initial grease and dirt from getting inside to the seal, or to the seal. And I put those in with my press. I got a press over here, so I just put those in with the press. But you could do that if you're very careful with just a block of wood or piece of steel that's as large as the seal itself. Now on the cylinders, you can see I took all the paint off. I figure I'm this far along, I might as well paint them. Once I have it all put back together, I'm going to paint them. So I just wanted to kind of go over that and show how far along I am. And I'm going to try now to put the gland nuts back on the rods, and then we'll go from there. Okay, I've got some grease on the end of it, and I'm going to try to slide the rod in. Just want to be gentle so I don't wreck that seal as it goes in. All right, it's on. All right, now I'm just going to put the piston on. Just for now, I'm going to have to take it to a buddy's shop to tighten it down, so I just want to keep it all together to transport it before I tighten it all down. Now on the piston, you can see there's two sides. There is this smaller diameter and the larger diameter.
The smaller diameter is actually the same size as the rod, so you want to make sure that it goes back on like that. And I'm going to use some thread locker on this when I get over there to tighten it down. But for right now, I'm just going to snug it up and leave it that way. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other one, and then I'm going to go tighten them all down.
Okay, so I got my cylinders all rebuilt, put back on the backhoe. You can tell which ones are the rebuilt cylinders because everything else looks kind of bad. But I ended up painting them. I just went over to Home Depot and bought some Rust-Oleum yellow and added some red to it, and yeah, I got pretty close enough. But the good thing is they're not leaking at all. They would not stay up for more than a minute prior to changing those seals, and now they've been up for half hour. They're not even starting to seep down, so I pretty much feel like I got that figured out. But my next project is these swing cylinders. If you can see it, there is not even a wiper on them anymore, so that's my next project. I'm going to get to that next time I come up here. Yeah, those are nasty. But I did manage to dig a couple holes that I needed to dig today, so the outrigger cylinders worked just fine. They held it level, and I got the job done despite those swing cylinders who like to leak a lot. Alright, so I'm going to say if you need to reseal your outrigger cylinders, go for it. It's not that hard of a job. It was like $35 a side. Plus I painted them, and one side got a new strap there. Other than that, actually pretty cheap to do. If you take it to a shop, I know it's like a few $100. Totally not worth it if you just got any mechanical ability at all. I would do it. Alright, I'll talk to you next time.
Alright, thanks for watching the first episode of the Hillbilly Repairman. So far the backhoe cylinders are working. They've been that way for about a month, and everything is good. So I would try that if I was going to do it again. In fact, I will do it again. So yeah, that worked out really well.